Welcome to Charts Today. It is Thursday, the 21st of May, and we are looking at a chart of the Nasdaq. It's a long-term chart. It's a weekly chart. Updater works out that it's a weekly chart and just reminds you that that's a long-term chart. And this is the Nasdaq. And the key point here is that last week, after a run of several weeks, we saw really what looks like a doji candle. We started Monday last week and ended Friday last week at around the same price level and had a trading range. So that is generally a bearish sign on the chart. And so it's not, it's just a sign that having had a run of candles, we're not looking as strong. And if we look at but we still do have a big upside target. And what's interesting is we've now got a pullback in price, which locks that thrust. And if we go higher, we activate a new big upside target. So these are log scale targets. Remember, they're exaggerated. You'll find lots of resources on the Updater website. And in fact, on candles, if you go to resources, LSEC, you'll find lots on the targets on videos. If you go to resources, these are free resources. I record these for the London Stock Exchange, and candles was August's webinar. You can watch that there and understand candle patterns. But the interesting thing is we are seeing that long-term picture looking a little bit bearish because of that candle, just within trend. And then the medium term, we've got a pullback, and here's now the 60-minute, and this is the short term. I'm running on Refinitiv, or LSEG, I should say, but the Metastock Zenith service is the same service, is really powerful. And if you go to your data services, and you can see here Metastock daily charts are real time. The daily service is brilliant, and if you click that link, it takes you to an offer for Updater clients running global coverage, the same level as professionals have. Really powerful. So you have that system that feeds your system plus amazing news. Really great. So I'm running on top of LSEG, but it would be the same if you're running on top of Metastock. If we look at the futures today, interestingly, we're lower. Little bit of a double top brewing there on the 60-minute chart for the S&P future. And again, if you look here, you will find a session on patterns. That was one of the first ones. So all of these are free resources for you to watch. So really quite key there. And this is the Nasdaq future. And we can see we're down nearly 0.5% this morning. The UK future down 1/3%, and the DAX future down 0.5%. So on these charts, we are really waiting for a break to new highs, and that's the real key there. Looking at Asia, we had Japan actually up 1.7%, so that's looking a little bit better. Some respite there, both on bond yields and on the currency. The Sensex still looks pretty grim, and if we look at the Chinese market, we've had a pullback there, which is showing on that 60-minute chart, lower high, lower low. That's the Dow theory session in here. So you'll find that under Dow theory, they're all there for you to interpret. We've got a new downside target. That thrust has given us a downside target for Japan, and the Aussie market actually recovered a bit. It has had a pretty bad week, but we still do have these downside targets in place hanging over us. So looking at coffee, that was crude oil is actually up 1% today, but it has fallen away. We take a quick look at crude. We can see we've still got these big upside targets. The 60-minute chart, we have fallen away there yesterday. And if we look at coffee, as mentioned, that's a really big break on the chart. Sugar down 0.5%, really going into a range here, potentially a narrowing range. To trade the range, you go to the 60-minute, use the targets there. Wheat has been very strong as well. But looking at gold, that continues to weaken. Downside targets there. So just really pulling back. And silver also lower. We are in this big range. If you look at the 60, this big triangle pattern really, and if you look at the 60-minute chart, it's a mixed picture. We need to break above 90 on silver or watch for a break below 60. So that's quite a big range. And looking at the US Mag 7, they're all up yesterday, so quite strong. Apple continuing higher. Amazon, that's given us a new target potentially. That target given back last year was met. Google was actually flat, but has got a big upside target. Even Microsoft, which has been a poor performer, just waiting to see if we can activate that upside target. Nvidia and Tesla, and the buzz, of course, on the market at the moment is the SpaceX, Musk's SpaceX IPO. So we'll be watching that with interest, watching those short-term charts as they build. Now, looking at the Dow, we had Goldman Sachs. They were up 5%, 6%, activating a new upside target, nudging to new highs there. So that's looking very, very strong. And if we look at the Nasdaq, we can just look at the performance. ARM up 15%, breaking to a new high. That's the move sideways, start of the new move. No clear targets on the daily, but on the 60-minute we've got some targets, so really quite key. AMD up 8%. Chips really rocketing. It's really been very, very powerful for chips. Last of all, a look at the UK market, and just going through the charts in terms of percentage. We've got Babcock, that's the short-term chart. If we go to the daily chart, downside target there. Scottish mortgages, we can just see, well, that's looking quite strong, breaking to new highs. See the difference between above the cloud, pushing to a target, really quite key. Looking at British Land, not looking great. JD Sports, you can just literally go through. We've got a new upside target on JD Sports. That's quite good. Polar Capital was one I was looking at. Big upside target. That price has more than doubled in the last year. So really, really very interesting. But you can see most of the stocks, we've got maybe a third of stocks up today. We go the other side of the coin. Auto Trader down 3.8%. That has really slid off a cliff and halved in the last year. Fresno, big pattern building there, not looking so great. Whitbread has been in a downtrend as well. So you can see how a lot of these stocks have really been struggling. That is Sage. We look at Endeavour Minerals. You can just literally go through the list. And so that is just pausing really, but we've got a mixed picture going into a consolidation phase after a very strong run up in price. Sage, software companies generally have been pretty badly hit globally. The chips have done well off AI. Software have had to make big investments, so that's hit their prices. That's it for today. Keep an eye on your trends and price targets. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.